Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whenever you may be tuning in to the Growing Our Future podcast. As always, it's a pleasure to join you and to bring special guests on who share insights, experiences, expertise, and sometimes just a little bit of their heart about what it takes to be successful and to maybe create opportunities in a lifetime. And today is no different. Today we have Gordon Davis, G.W. Davis. There's a lot of us that know Dr. Davis from way back in the day, but we are honored to have Dr. Davis with us today. We're going to tell you a little bit about his background in a minute. Dr. Davis, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here, Aaron.
So, GW, can I call you GW through the interview today? Do you mind?
Absolutely. I've got worse names.
So, GW, I start every one of these podcasts off because I think attitude is really important. And I think an attitude of gratitude is paramount to being successful in life. So, GW, what are you grateful for today?
Well, grateful for good health. I got my hearing aids yesterday, so I got a little better. I can't see, so I'm about ready to maybe get some cataract surgery, but I still get around. I still play golf about 3 times a week. Grateful for my family and grateful for my career and for a super company and particularly being involved in agriculture since I was 3 years old.
Couldn't agree with you more, by the way. Everything that you just said, I think what it is, GW, is that in today's world, if you look around and you watch the news or you listen to too much social media or you hang around negative people, you kind of might not think that there's anything to be hopeful for out there. But I think if you take a closer look and just like you said, if I look at my family and I look at my career and I look at a job and I look at an opportunity and the fact that I can get up and do something today, that's not a bad place to start.
You bet.
Well, we appreciate you sharing that. Let's talk a little bit about you. Dr. Gordon Davis, you have got a storied career. And by the way, we only have 30 minutes, so you can't go into all of the details. But why don't you give us a high-level trip through GW's story of how you went from Washington State to the great state of Texas and to CEV Multimedia. Could you run us through that?
Well, I was born in Bremerton, Washington, and we moved to a farm when I was 3 years old. And I remember early on when I was a young boy, 3, 4, 5 years old, my dad got me out there. We started out a D4 tractor, and he had to go through the diesel fuels and so forth to get it started. I heard that thing fire off, and I got to go out there in that big cat tractor that pulls the levers, and we were plowing, disking or something, and the dew in the grass, and he always said the best part of the day is the morning. I sat in agriculture right there, just smelling the soils, being out there, sitting around. We had no TV in 1948, so sitting around watching Looney Tunes and playing video games, forget it. You got out there in the field. You got in the barn with the cattle. Then I moved on to dairy farm, 13 years on a dairy farm. Learned, that's where I really got my work ethic, and had a little hay hauling company when I was 16. And I got involved in FFA, and I loved it. I was in FFA from a 9th grader, really from 7th grader. My brother was 2 years ahead of me, so I was kind of tagging along with him. And he ended up being president of FFA chapter and so forth. Then I went to Washington State University and studied ag science and also a double major ag education. I wanted to be an ag teacher. And I got exposed to all the areas of agriculture. Is plant pathology and entomology, soils, of course, got some organic chemistry in there. And the social sciences, I like those too. And coming from a small school, I was kind of intimidated going to a big university. Then I taught ag 3 years and got to coach teams, whereas I was on the teams in Deer Park. Now I got to coach them, and I love that. And then I got an opportunity to go to Texas A&M, and I was on a meats team at Washington State. And that's where I got my desire to meats. Meats was kind of my area. I picked it up from there. Dr. Smith gave me a chance at A&M to coach meat judging team. And so I went through a master's PhD program in meat science, muscle biology at Texas A&M, on the faculty in food technology and science at University of Tennessee, 3 years. And then on the faculty at Texas Tech and Animal Science Department as a meat scientist, all in the 1980s. And when I was at Texas A&M in 1974, I saw some unique teaching. We're out there doing meat animal evaluation with hogs, and the teacher was LD With. And Dr. With did a video camera of the hogs, the live ones. And then we looked at the carcasses. He said, "What did you guys call number 7?" Well, we all called him a U.S. number 3, and he turned out to be U.S. number 4. And he pointed out in the video where he was a 4, not a 3. I never forgot that. Just followed away. Didn't do anything about it. No one else did either. I said, that was great teaching video in the classroom. Bring an expert to classroom. Although in this case, it was hogs. But nevertheless, it was bringing the field into the classroom. And then 81, we didn't have a lot of money and at Texas A&M to buy carcasses, so we were able to reuse them using video. I had Ag Teachers Clinic on meat judging, and they wanted to see the videos, and that led to CEV, and started CEV in 1984 and went full-time in 1990, quit a tenure track position, a big risk in my career right there. And I was tenured associate professor, about ready to get promoted to professor and so forth. And so anyway, jumped out there. It was kind of scary, but thought this was the future. And so I did it. And we sold the company in December of 2021. And we ended up with, when I left, they had 1.3 million student customers and 22,000 teachers. And agriculture was the foundation of the company once again, although now it's in a lot of other subjects.
What a career. Along that pathway, let me ask you this question, because this is a common question that comes up when we're talking to folks that have achieved success in life. Everything that you just laid out, all of this path that led you to where you were founding CEV Multimedia, did you plan all that? Or did some of it just kind of happen organically as you went along because you were smart enough to spot trends?
Well, my brother went to the National FFA Convention in the 1960s, and he told me how much fun it was in Kansas City. And so I decided that I had to become a state farmer at Washington State. And one way, if you're a state officer, you got to go to Kansas City. Either that or get elected as a delegate. And I may not get elected, but he got elected as delegate, but he had 2 chances. So I said, well, I'm going to take both tries. So I became a state officer, and I got to go to the national convention. And I tell you, that just opened my eyes to the world. It was a big deal to go on a train all the way from Washington State to Kansas City, Missouri. And I saw how big the country was. And FFA just kind of got me started. And then FFA also, you had to have a supervised farming project. I think it called supervised farming project. Well, mine was, I had some dairy cows, and then I hauled hay. And that's why I made some money. So I got a little experience being an entrepreneur. Really, when I was only 15, 16, 17, trying to figure out some way to go to the National FFA Convention. And then at age 26, after I graduated from college, I decided I want to be financially independent. And just a decision I made, because as an ag teacher in Washington State, I was making $9,000 a year, and I decided I wasn't going to become financially independent that way. So maybe I ought to branch out a little bit and figure out. So I get a master's PhD, maybe that'll help me some. And so I had a wise friend tell me that if you get a PhD, it'll open more doors. And it turned out that did open a big door. And the door happened to be CEV. But FFA opened a lot of doors to me. And I'm very grateful for FFA and agriculture for opening those doors.
I think something that you said, GW, there's a couple of things there that you said that I sure hope the listeners, especially the young people, are listening to. Number one is you always had your eyes open looking for an opportunity. You can't get an opportunity if you're not paying attention. And you got to be paying attention. And then you got to be willing to travel around and look for those opportunities. They don't just fall in your lap. And it sounds like you've been kind of that person. You've got an entrepreneurial spirit, and you kind of out there looking. You were looking for opportunities. You didn't just wait for them. It sounds like you were kind of looking for them.
Absolutely. When I was at University of Tennessee, I looked seriously at buying a sausage operation where I bought Packer sows and converted them into sausage. I backed out, and I was at A&M. I tried real estate. I had 19 mobile homes and modular homes when I graduated from my PhD at A&M. They said that I was the only one that ever graduated with a PhD with no debt and made money getting a PhD with $6,000 a year salary. And so that helped too. But I made a little money doing that, but also got into some good poker games.
That's another story. Okay. Let's stay focused here. That's one reason I've always enjoyed talking to you, because this man right here is one of these guys that when you talk to him, if you'll just listen, there's all these little tidbits, these what they call apples of gold. And you've said a couple of things already I want to just kind of piggyback on and think about here. Number one, you talk about FFA and the FFA experience. And then when I think about what you just said, I thought about the opening ceremonies. The treasurer here by the Emblem of Washington. Why stationed by the Emblem of Washington? Judge, what does it say? George Washington was better able to serve his country because he was financially independent.
Absolutely.
Now, how many
I was
times?
the state treasurer at Washington State, and I had to give that opening part many times in front of large groups.
And
I picked up the word financially independent way back there when I was 16.
That's my point right there, is that you saw something, you weren't afraid to dream big, and you pursued it. And you had to be persistent. Did you have through all of this successful journey that you've been on, GW, did you ever have anybody tell you that you couldn't do it? Did you ever have any hurdles along the way? I mean, was there ever a time you just wanted to throw your hands up and say, this isn't going to work? What kept you going?
No, I never did throw my hands up. I always thought it was going to work. I've never been a part of failure yet, knock on wood. But when I left academia in May 12th, 1990, there were people saying, what are you doing, Gordon? You're about to get nominated for president of the American Community Science Association. You have a really good academic career here. Your program here at Texas Tech is doing well. And he said, here you are going off in this video thing. I said, well, I think I know what I'm doing, because I knew the year before our sales were $450,000 a year, and I was making more money on the side than I ever was at the university. Although my biggest regret leaving was the students. I love the kids, but I knew I could hire some young people at CEV, which I have. No, to tell you the truth, I never did look back. You got to make a decision. You don't want to look back. And there never was a time where I was ever in despair or didn't think I was going to make it. And the question was, not only are we going to make it, but how big is this sucker going to get? And I never did put any limits on it.
I love it. That's good stuff. What did Zig Ziglar always say? I loved it. You sound just like Zig Ziglar. What did Zig always say? He said, I'd go fishing with Moby Dick with some tartar sauce and a Nikon camera.
Yeah.
And that's you. You looked at the future and it wasn't, well, I hope to achieve this. You said, man, I see this future and, oh, wait a second, I'm going to go all the way up here. I'm going to get to this.
I saw an article, and I'd point this out to your viewers. You need to be, when I was looking for my big idea, I knew I needed a big idea to become financially independent, like George Washington said. But then you got to have a good idea, then you execute. So let's just assume that each one of them is 50 points. So I knew I needed an idea that was probably at least worth a 40 out of 50. Let's say Microsoft and Apple are 50-point ideas. And so I finally found video in the classroom. And in 1984, I read an article in the Time magazine that had a front cover that showed the growth of the telephone. It started out at 1%, people had a phone, then 99%. Then they showed the microwave oven, 1%, then 99%. Then they had the VCR parallel to the dotted line parallel. At that time, it was 1%. I said, this is easy. There's going to be a VCR in everybody's classroom. And I was right. And bringing the expert to the classroom, especially when you get to 2020 with COVID, that's the way the country schools are kind of getting operated somehow or online. And not perfect, but still operational. I had a goal for the company to become world class. And I set that goal in 1998, try to become world class at what you do. And I thought, well, we're not Microsoft, we're not Apple, but we're not Microsoft or Apple. We're the CEV. So how do we get to be world class at what we do? Doesn't matter whether it's the FFA chapter, doesn't matter if it's a judging team, doesn't matter if it's a city or a town or a state or a university or a college. So I said, okay, 50 points for the idea. In 2017, I figured we got up to about a 44 on the idea.
Okay.
I started out at about a 35 when we had just VHS videotapes. Then I think currently the execution of the idea, because we have such good people and we just don't have much turnover at all, is about a 48. So you take 44, add it to 48, you got 94. And I call it world class once you get to 90. And I thought we hit world class what we do in about 2017. And I think even though I'm gone, I think the company still is at that level. And of course, it's never going to get to 100 because you can always get better.
Right.
But that was a big point for me to become world class at what we do. And I was doing the grading. I didn't have a committee or anything. And there was years that went through and I didn't think we were much past 80. And then I'd ask every once in a while, I'd ask my top people, what would you give us for scores? And they would. But finally in 2017, we had a monster year and I thought, okay, I think we've reached 90. That's a good goal for any FFA chapter, any team.
Well, okay. So you said something else here again. Like I said, every time you talk, you start to share something that I think people can take something from. Another thing that you've said here that I think is real important is you better have a strategy and you better have a plan.
Oh, absolutely. I've been a part of 15 long-range plans, from 3-year plans to 13-year plans. And we recently made a gift to Texas Tech. I laid out a 19-year plan for the College of Ag Science and Natural Resources at Texas Tech, 19 years, from 2021 to 2040. And CEV currently is in the 5th year of a plan that is 2018 to 2030. And the company that bought us it for the 4th year of the plan. But that's only the 14th plan I've ever been a part of. And the College of Ag plan at Texas Tech is plan number 15. And I've never had a failed plan. Never, not a one of them has ever failed.
Wow.
Plans are amazing.
That right there. That I sure hope people are listening, because that you just said a whole lot right there.
There's something magic when a plan goes on paper. And Aaron, you and I worked together 25 years ago on a long-range plan for the FFA Foundation. And the first thing when I got on your board, the first thing I said, where's your long-range plan? And the answer was, we don't have one. And so you and I went to work, and to your credit, you're the leader on this. We got one, and now it's gotten better and better and better as years go by with all the other boards you've had. And I bet you, I don't think the Texas FFA Foundation has been a part of a losing plan either.
No, and that's why I say what you said was so smart, because when I listen to your life story and I listen to your company story, listen to everything that you've already shared. Here I have a list here of things that I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you about leadership. I don't need to ask you about it. You've already outlined it. You got to go see something. You got to pursue something. You got to expect the best. You got to hold yourself accountable. You got to have a plan to get there. I'm sitting here thinking, I wanted to ask Gordon Davis about tips on leadership. I don't need any tips on leadership. Just listen to your story. Your story is full of tips on leadership.
Well, thank you. You got to be able to take risks. And you got to be able to listen. A good leader listens well and trusts the people around them. And don't have to take the credit. Just hire people smarter than you are and take risks and expect results. And everybody get along good and enjoy the process, realizing it's not going to be perfect. And that's okay. We had lots of years where our sales in business, sales are measured, success is measured by how many dollars of sales were. Well, some years the sales didn't go up. They stayed about the same. We really were trying to get better, because we're always trying to get better. And there's only 2 kinds of businesses. One's getting better and getting worse.
Right.
And there's nothing in between. And so, yeah, leadership is surrounding yourself with a lot of good players, and then having the fortitude to go after it.
Well, recently I watched a press conference, and I was pretty proud to watch this press conference, because I got to see a friend of mine do something pretty extraordinary, to write a major gift to a university. Matter of fact, it was the largest gift in that university's history. And it was a $44 million gift to Texas Tech University. And that gift now included the Gordon Davis College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. The Davis College now, I think, is the way they refer to it. GW, you put on that blue and gold jacket, and your daddy said, get a little dirt under your fingernails. And you said you smelt it. And then you said you could see it, and that you never had any small thoughts. All that came together in a successful business that afforded you the opportunity to pour into others. And they say that what we do in a life echoes in eternity. And I always tell people, if you want to know what the future is, you grow it, grow the future. And the investment that you've made at Texas Tech and the investment that you're making in the young people, GW, there's a lot of people, everybody leaves a legacy. It's either by default or by design. And you've left an incredible legacy. And we're just honored that somewhere along the way that FFA jacket played a part in that. And we just want you to know that we appreciate what you've done, but more than the money, just the example that you've lived is got so much value. How many potential entrepreneurs are sitting out there listening right now that may say, if Gordon can do it, if GW can do it, maybe I can do it. And you gave them the tools.
Well, I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't FFA. And for me, it goes all the way back to age 12, as I said. And all the competitions, it's where I learned how to win, getting on judging. One way to learn how to win is to get beat. And that's also the way you learn how to pursuit of excellence, because you get beat and you find out what your score is and you try to get better, get a bit better score. And but I learned how to compete with FFA, and that's really my first time I've ever tried to make money, because I wanted to go to the National FFA convention, and only way to get there maybe to become a state officer. And by golly, FFA helped me a lot, and we've given back to FFA quite a bit. The company has, and Joyce had not been in FFA before, and so we decided to. Her affiliation was Texas Tech, and she has a degree at Tech. I don't have a degree at Tech, but I gave this back. We gave this back for agriculture and youth and kids and to the university. And tech and agriculture doesn't really get the respect it deserves. If you eat and you wear clothes, you're involved in agriculture. But I don't care if it's agriculture on a national basis in Washington State, in Texas, or in West Texas, anywhere in any state, agriculture really doesn't get the respect it deserves. FFA doesn't get the respect it deserves, but it gets respect from me and Joyce. And by golly, we had a one-time opportunity, because I just don't like paying the maximum amount of taxes. And I had to make up my mind before midnight, December 31st, 2021, what we were going to do. And I started working on it in June. That's when we started figuring out that the company was worth a lot of money, a lot more than we thought it was going to be worth. There was outsiders coming after us from New York, from Boston, from Chicago, Philadelphia, California. There was quite a list. And these are called private equity companies. And all they care about is money. They want to take CEV and grow it and make money out of it. And they did. And I think they will. And I decided that I was going to pull my marbles in and put them in my pocket and move on and enjoy retirement now. And but golly, a bunch of tech people and other university ag people are there at the company running it right now. And they helped us get to where we're at. And these are top people, and they have all the tools. They know what they're doing. They'll triple the company in the next 5 years. And who knows, there might be another gift somewhere along the way. But so had this opportunity one time, and that's what we did. We gave it back to agriculture.
GW, you said something during that press conference that really got my attention. You know, unfortunately, we live in a time where sometimes I hear things that kind of hurt my ears a little bit, like it's not okay to be exceptional. Like exceptionalism is somehow a bad word. And I'm thinking to myself, no, it's not. Everybody loves good customer service. Everybody likes a great experience. So what's wrong with exceptionalism? What's wrong with trying to be the best that you could possibly be at anything that you do? And during your press conference, you said it's okay to win. It's okay to win. Tell me a little bit about that philosophy that it's okay to win.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got two choices. You know, real winners prepare to win. And we were not an overnight success. It was 37 years. And so I'm not surprised we won. I'm not surprised it's this much. But yeah, it's just something about it just makes you feel good all over, whether you're the last person on the team or the star or the coach or the assistant coach, somewhere on the team. But we know we learn about teamwork at FFA. The CDs are a good example. And any kids out there, I encourage you, even if you're, I don't care if you're an alternate on the team, you're a green hand, you're just getting started, get on the team, somewhere on the team. Now I'm 76 years old. I've been the star of the team. I've been the coach of the team. I've been the assistant coach, and I have been the absolute dog on the team. My last game I pitched as a softball pitcher, and I think my last game, I believe we lost 33-3, and the balls are just getting airmailed out of the place, and I just quit right during the game. I'm done. I'm retired as a pitcher. So I was the worst on the team that night, and these guys, the other team, just laughing at me. But I was done. I was old. I was in my 40s, but anyway, what I'm trying to tell you, you don't have to be the star. And if any of you guys out there think you're going to be the star every time, you're crazy, because you might all of a sudden, get on the track team and maybe you're not very fast or very strong, or you might be on a basketball team. You can't hit anything. That doesn't matter. You're still on the team. And if you're the manager on the team and you're passing out the towels, you're still on the team. And right now it's basketball season. Look at these teams. Look at these guys on the bench that are pulling for their other players. Mm-hmm. And we live in a me world, and you need to learn how to be on a team. And there's no organization that teaches that subject better than the FFA. I mean, I'm telling you, not even close. When I was at Deer Park in school, I was on the land judging team. I was on the Par Pro team. I did public speaking. I was on the dairy cattle judging team. I was on the livestock team. And I forget what other teams we had. Soils judging team. When I taught, I was on the taught ag. I was on the apple judging team. I coached the apple judging team. Didn't know anything about it. But we weren't last. We're in the competition at least. Potato judging, we got all the way to second. I didn't know anything about that, but we kept getting better. Livestock judging team, the dairy cattle judging team, Par Pro, public speaking. Try to get one of my guys up to state FFA officer, which he did, and all these other teams. But there was all sorts of teams. I enjoyed being on teams and being the coaching team, getting your name called, or just sitting there at the banquet, ready to take your head and bury it in the eggs because you just got buried. And I was in Washington State. I was on all the judging teams they had. They had a dairy cattle team. They had a livestock judging team. They had a meat animal evaluation team. I was on all three of them. And I got to travel to Columbus, Ohio, and Cal Palace in San Francisco, and so forth, so on. I got out of town. And so I tell the kids out there, get on some teams. Even if you're not the best one, get on the team. You just, it might open some doors to something else.
Man, that is good stuff. Hey, by the way, I was on a team. And because I was on that team, I met a mentor because of it one day. And I remember at an area meats judging contest, I mismarked a card. And then I remember I actually came to that university and I walked into that professor's office and he had that card with the word dunce written on it. And he had pinned it right behind his desk. And I remember that guy became one of my mentors. And that guy was this guy right here, Gordon Davis. And I was on the Boys Ranch Meats team, and we finished fourth at state that year, but I really pulled a dunce going into that area contest. And I think my takeaway from that was, number one, you got to learn to laugh. I thought you were a good coach when you taught me how to laugh. I thought it was a good coaching moment to teach me how to pay attention. You got to pay attention to the details. And I think probably the biggest takeaway from it was it's okay to surround yourself with people that tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes you got to surround yourself with people that tell you what you need to hear. And I needed somebody to tell me that was a dunce move. And you were more than happy to step up and let me know that.
Well, I did it before too. If you've judged long enough, you've mismarked your card or stood on the wrong side of class.
Yeah.
And that's good. And we were talking about teams a minute ago. The reason CEV did so well is we had a team. We started out with one employee, 144 square foot office, $80 a month rent, and we ended up with 110 employees in 2021. But we were a team. Everybody had a role, and so learn how to be on a team. Learn how to, and if you live long enough, I guarantee you'll be in most spots on the team. Some of them pretty humbling.
Good stuff.
Now, since I'm kind of retired, I guess my role maybe as a mentor. I've done so much stuff. I've had a 53-year career and been in a lot of doors and sat through a lot of meetings. And so it's just a different role, but still a little bit on the team. And once in a while, CEV, they call me and they ask something. I always tell them, make sure it's easy.
That's good stuff. Well, I will say this, the good thing about the way that you support, the way you coach, and the way you mentor is there's usually not a lot of gray area there. You usually kind of know where you stand. And that I will tell you that is appreciated, because I think, there's too much of that fuzzy gray area today, and people, they're trying to figure out, well, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? But if you get the right mentors, they'll tell you, they'll let you know.
I'll tell you this, I've had 35 mentors in my life. 9 of them are now deceased. And I don't use mentors as much now because the company sold and I've moved on. But I'll tell you this, I've never once walked up to a person that I wanted to get mentorship from that told me, no, I don't have time for you, Gordy or GW. And these are people I looked up to. So for heaven's sakes, if you think somebody knows a lot of stuff that you don't know, and they're 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years older than you are, just walk it up and say, do you mind if we have lunch, or can we have a cigar? Can we sit down and talk? And I bet you they'll answer your questions. And I played poker for about 10 years with 3 guys that were worth 9 figures. And I learned from all of them, and sort of mentors. And one of them I spent a lot of time with. He mentored me for 35 years. But anytime I wanted to ask any of those guys anything, they'd tell me. And one of them is oil and gas, and one of them was in real estate, and the other one was in construction.
Wow.
And everybody does it different. But I just can't tell you young people, don't leave high school without at least 3 people who can speak for you. And it doesn't need to be your mom, and your dad, and your brother either. It needs to be somebody who can speak for you, at least one. Then when you go to college, have at least 3. When I left high school, I think I had 1 or 2. Nobody did give me this advice. And then when I went to college, I think I left with 1 or 2. I didn't leave with 4 or 5. But now I'm advising you all to get 3. And then later on in your life, I would think you need to be thinking, if you're going to have a very complex life that's got a lot of parts to it, you might be thinking in the 30s for mentors. So I have one mentor, a Matters of the Heart. Dr. Judy McDonald Wilkins has been my mentor for Matters of the Heart. And you boys out there, I'm telling you what, the ladies, they function a lot with the heart, and you got to get so you have some idea what you're doing. And Matters of the Heart are tough for me, but I get through it. I do the best I can, and not perfect. And then you got your financial matters, and it's good to have somebody to mentor you spiritually, and of course financially, and leadership, and career, and whatever your chosen area is. If it's entomology, an entomologist. If it's animal science, an animal scientist. If it's genetics, somebody in genetics. And they don't need to all be in your neighborhood or in your university. They need to be outside the state and the area you're in. And when I was trying to become a state FFA officer at Deer Park, Washington, we had the state treasurer about 3 years before that. His name was Gene Simhauser. And I know him, and he gave me a little coaching. Then a kid named Larry Porter tried to get state officer the year before I did, and didn't quite make it. And he mentored the heck out of me. And if it wasn't for Larry, I probably don't make it. Now Larry's deceased now. And so people will help you. And I just don't hesitate to ask. And the people you're going to be asking are people that know something you don't know. Nobody knows everything.
That's right. Man, we could sit here. We could carry on this conversation for hours. And I will tell the listeners that over the course of the years, I actually started working for CEV back in 1988. And I can tell you, 1985 is when I started.
85.
When I started with GW, because I left in 88. But, these conversations like this have such great value. Like you said, if you'll just get around people. One of my favorite books on leadership is by Wes Roberts. It's called Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun. And what Attila would do is he would put the young Huns around a campfire, and then he would put the older Huns around the younger Huns, and he would have them share stories of battles and of victories and of challenges, knowing that one day those young Huns would be the old Huns that stood behind the young Huns. And that's how you keep a legacy going. That's how you keep culture going. And that's how you fostered such a rich culture, GW. And I just want to tell you, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing some of the wisdom that led you to become the largest donor in Texas Tech history and to create such an incredible company and an incredible career. Thank you for investing in others. Thank you for taking the time to invest in others. I'm always fond of saying, if you want to know what the future is, grow it. Well, if you want to grow something, what do? You got to plant it, you got to take care of it, and then you got to grow it the way you want it to grow, to be strong, to have good roots. And you've done a lot of that, and you need to feel proud of it. And I know you are. And we just want you to know how much we appreciate you.
Well, I thank the FFA for their role collectively. From age 12 to now, about 64 years, I've been associated with the FFA.
Wow.
And FFA has been a big part of this success. And on the mentor thing, I'm going to tell you that I only had, nobody's ever picked my brain, 100%. There's not one person that ever has on all this stuff. And there's a lot to it. But I had 2 people tell me that I got it all from 2 of them.
Wow.
One named Swede Carlson, one named Gary Smith. And Gary Smith is just on meat judging.
Yeah.
He was the king of meat judging at Texas A&M.
Yep. And
he was the guy. And it took me 6 years. And when I left A&M, Dr. Smith said, You're the only one that got it all. And I
Wow.
just brought it up to Texas Tech and I gave it to Dr. Miller. And I told Dr. Miller, now you just take this and make it bigger and better. Do it your own way.
I read about him. I think I read about Miller in Sports Illustrated one time.
That's right.
Something about winning. But anyway, all right, GW, I always wrap up these interviews with a fun question. So you get a fun question to wrap up with. You ready?
Yeah.
What's the best concert you've ever been to?
George Strait.
King George. Of all the people, of all the interviews that I've done with these so far, that one right there is the only one that's had more than one vote is King George.
Yeah, been two of them, ringside twice. The
Good
best
stuff. Can't beat it. Another former Texas FFA member, by the way.
There's another thing about George I like. He gives a house away to a veteran, a wounded warrior at halftime of his show.
Yep.
And I'm very impressed by that.
Yep. He's very generous, and the fact that he recognized those Gold Star families is pretty impressive. GW, thank you. We appreciate you joining us. Hopefully we'll have you back on. We'll do another one of these. We're just getting started. This is the Growing Our Future podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us for our next one down the road. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.